Now, this fraud that you deny is existing, yeah, it actually does. Oh, it's real, and I know those in the government say, well, we only investigate fraud and waste of government agencies, departments, or contractors, but the truth of the matter is they have law enforcement capability and they're obligated to inform Child Protective Services. Now, I emailed the local police department this morning. You decided to do nothing. Now, I'm emailing everybody. They decide to do nothing, they can all get sued and go to prison. It was in the newspaper that they're 2 grades behind where they should be at. There's a possibility I might have had one son that was held back a year or two, yes, but there's no possible way that 3 of my sons, yes. So it's really child abuse. And it's abuse of children because law enforcement refuses to enforce the laws. Now, I told you about child protection laws? Yes. Fraud laws, conspiracy laws, and color of law laws? Yes. Now, could someone in law enforcement, inclusive of any special agent in the Office of Inspector General, yes, in every department and agency of the federal government, yeah, that can actually bring right now charges of fraud and child abuse, they're in the wrong grades. That's an indication that they've been abused for 7.5 years. Now, I've told you about the issuance of protection orders where there's not been any due process to myself because you wanted to say I was crazy. I don't think there's any better way to evidence child abuse than to put them in the newspaper 2 grades behind where they should be at. I provide their actual birth dates and birth certificates, and for 3 weeks you decide to sit there and do nothing. Now, I'm not that concerned about my housing situation, just so that you know. Let's say I'm owed, as in you, the state of Washington, will have to pay to house me and my sons. Now, I don't think that they can continue to reside with my wife. I think it violates certain custody obligations of parenting to make sure that your children are in the right grades. Do you understand, Sheriff? I'm not worried about. Now, I want to speak to Marilyn Van Proyen. This is not a picture of who she is. Oh, I want all the laws enforced, Sheriff. Yes, that's a picture of Susan Bowers holding Legina. Mhm. Now, this was a very simple email, and I included the instructions on how to issue a protection order. Yes, the expungement of my arrest and the court cases on Guam. Right. The fraudulent dismissal of the court case that I'm going to appeal in Jefferson County. Yes. And you're obstructing me, Pooch, from appealing the dismissal that happened last Wednesday. And then marriage license from the United Nations, yes, where I think my wife did not provide an actual copy of the marriage license, yeah. And then RI.PDF, all 9 pages of what was served on me, yes, at the Swin Public Library. Okay? Now, I know that you think I should just be some timid, scared American citizen, yes, as if I were doing something wrong, informing you, law enforcement, of child abuse. But I think that I have an obligation, not just as a father, yes, but as a citizen of the United States, to inform law enforcement of child abuse. So I'm not going to feel scared. I'm not going to be frightened. I'm not going to think that you're going to decide to arrest me for doing what the law requires. Any person that has knowledge of a crime, Pooch, has an obligation to inform law enforcement. It's called the citizen's duty. You and the police department may not feel a great obligation to do your duty as law enforcement, But as a citizen, I did feel it was my duty to inform law enforcement of any crime that I had knowledge of. Now, I've tried to do the best that I can as a citizen of the United States. Yes. And as much as you might want to say I'm some right wing terrorist or some holy roller lunatic, you may not really appreciate some of what I've experienced in life. Now, this is the Catholic Encyclopedia, and whatever you think about me, you think about 1.2 billion Catholic individuals. Yes, there was a time when I really did like these saints. Yeah. And I wanted to talk to you about mysticism because it's something that you as a police and sheriff's department might not appreciate. Before I was married for approximately 10 years, I was living a celibate life. Yes. I went to Northwest University and Assembly God School. Yes. Seattle Bible College. Yes. But I used to spend hours upon hours upon hours sitting in silence. Yes. Focusing on the actual thoughts in my mind. Now, mystics are that rare breed of Catholic that a lot of individuals don't understand. But when you spend hundreds or possibly thousands of hours by yourself in silence, yes, just focusing on the thoughts of your own mind, you became somewhat familiar with how you actually think. It's kind of like, let's say you sewed in somebody's thoughts that were not my own because you wanted to influence them. Mysticism is something that a lot of individuals will want to explore in their actual faith. Yeah. The question may well be asked by both the skeptic and the sincere believer whether there may not be some validity. In R.A. Vaughn's unkind definition, mysticism is that form of error that which mistakes for divine manifestation. Operations are merely human faculty. How can the mystics be said to know something that cannot be expressed in words and communicated to others or rendered explicit by the mystics, even to the mystics themselves? Uh, well, just kind of skipping down. First, there's a general background of the long line of Christian mystics to be considered. The intellectual equipment, the actual intellect of the individuals, yes, their temperamental qualities, and the educational opportunities of such men and women as, well, John, Paul, Augustine, Pseudo, Dionysius, S.S. Gregory, Bernard, Teresa de Avila. Now, I did read her book. Ooch. She had quite a life story, yes. John of the Cross, somebody that I did really enjoy reading his biographical book where he went through a melancholy. It was a very difficult experience for him to be able to really appreciate his emotions, to say nothing of the English and German mystics. Now, the basic matters of moral conduct and religious belief. Let's say you decided that you wanted to be one of these things for whatever reason. Oh, you read their life stories and you find out exactly what they did, and then you think, well, I'm going to do what they did and see what happens. Now, why don't you sit in a room, Sheriff, by yourself for the next, 70 hours? Yes, without a sound right now, and then just listen to your thoughts. The human mind will try to upset you unnecessarily. I actually did think that there was some experience in the knowledge of God through the mystical experience of silence. Why don't you just sit in a room by yourself in silence? You know, there are a lot of individuals throughout the history of Christianity in the last 2 years. Yeah. Mysticism, on the other hand, has a history of experience in which the mystic claims to have been in immediate contact with the ground of being known in an intellectual way that is free from imaginative content, ouch, and incapable of normalized conceptualization.